So this morning we're going to have a visit from Helen Stanley, who you may know from Goblin Garage and all sorts of other things as well. She's building an MX-5, so she's brought it in for us to have a look at. We're going to help out with some bits, so let's go and say hello.
I'm a huge petrol head, and I have been since I can remember. I used to play with Barbies and things, but I always had toy cars, and it all stems from my dad. He's a massive petrol head. He loves classic cars, fast cars, bikes, everything. And it all came from that. We used to kind of spot cars when we were going on family trips, and you know, he had some really cool cars, and he had a really awesome van that I wanted to customise. I didn't even realise this. He told me this the other day, that apparently I wanted to cut the top of his van. So that kind of interest in cars, customising, bikes, all came from my dad. So for many years I was a visual merchandiser, and when I was at school as well I was very creative, so I kind of fell into that. And visual merchandising is basically selling things using aesthetics. So you take something that already exists and you put it in a better environment and you dress it up and you make people want to buy it. And it's all about aesthetics, it's all about styling. You know, I have a love of architecture, I have a love of style in a bigger sense, not just fashion, because fashion is a bit finicky, but style and, you know, form and function and lines, and that's why I love architecture so much. And although it possibly seems like it's a strange connection, design is kind of goes across many, many things. And I've taken what I learnt from branding, marketing, fashion, style, interiors from when I was a visual merchandiser, and I've tried to apply that to cars or bikes, and yeah, it seems a bit disjointed, but actually it works really well, and it's coming at it from a different angle, which I think is maybe more of a fresh kind of point of view, and hopefully that makes my ideas slightly different. Looking at the industry in the UK, cars specifically, the custom scene with classic cars, we just thought it kind of needed maybe a different angle. Lots of people are doing restoration and doing it really, really well, so we didn't want to do that. And then lots of people are kind of doing the American hot rod thing, so we didn't really want to do that. And that's why we started off with a Mark II Cortina, because, you know, we saw the popularity in classic Fords growing. They're easy to get parts for, although the Mark II wasn't, as it turns out. And, you know, there's lots of information on how to do it. So we kind of went in with hobby talent. So went in a little bit blind and then just kind of learned as we were going along on that build. And we wanted to do something different, something tasteful, and something that would stop traffic, if you were. And that car kind of did that. Not everybody chops reeves because it's the biggest pain you can possibly imagine, but we just went, you know, kind of all for it, and just thought, well, if we're going to do it, we may as well go big and try and make an impact. From like hobby cars to our first custom build, we did really well with that car, and it kind of did the job of getting noticed. And even if people didn't like it, a lot of people respected the amount of work that had gone into it and how mental we'd been with the general idea, I think. Goblin Works is a custom car and bike show which is on Quest. I started working in Goblin Works Garage. It's funny how much of a small world it is. They actually found my Cortina, or our Cortina, online, and sort of went, that's what we want to build on Goblin Works. That was the kind of spec they wanted to do. That was the kind of car they wanted to do, the kind of custom they wanted to do. That was where they were headed. And through that they found myself and Stephen, and they said to me, do you want to come and talk to us and maybe, you know, chat about going on the show? And so I just kind of went, yeah, why not? And got on really well with everybody. I already knew Jimmy before on the custom scene, and I met Ant through Goblin. And yeah, we just all work really, really well together. And it's kind of worked out quite well that all our crazy ideas, build some cool cars. So the MX-5 project actually came out of Goblin. On Goblin Works, we worked with this really cool guy called Paul Bailey, who used to have Bailey Motorsport. So if you know anything about classic Fords, you'll know who Paul Bailey is. He now has Bailey Aviation, and he's a stuntman. And he's taken me out driving quite a lot and teaching me how to do J-turns and things like that. And you know, I really want to learn how to drive like he can. And so he said, you need to get a rear-wheel drive car then, and you need to get on the track and you need to drive it until you can drive it like he can. And I was like, well, rear-wheel drive car, the best one, the cheapest one, and the one that's easiest to get parts for is the MX-5. And I had an MX-5 before, so I knew I loved it. I loved how it drove. It was a newer one, and because I prefer classic cars, I decided to buy a Mark 1. So I found a relatively sound one on eBay, and yeah, I'm just sort of uprating it, upgrading it, making it look a bit better as well, so it's a nice balance between form and function, and just making it so it's a track car for the road. So it's my daily driver, fast road car, track car, to help me learn to drive like a stunt woman. That's why I'm doing it. So I don't pretend to know everything about cars. I don't. I'm still learning, and I think whatever you do, you're always learning. And there's bits I know better than others, and I think this project will help me kind of learn a lot more. And I'm pulling in lots of favours and lots of friends, brands, suppliers, loads of people are really helping me out, which is amazing. And so under the bonnet, I'm kind of uprating things, making it breathe better. So I've got new air filter radiator, new hoses, got turbo going in there, so I'll upgrade the injectors, put an intercooler on, do some mapping, which I'm not familiar with, so, you know, engine management system and all that kind of thing. And then new brakes, suspension. It's having all new bushes underneath because they're shot. It rides like hell at the moment, it's awful. It's having swing arms, everything. So it's going to be a really sound, solid car. And it's nothing crazy and nothing mental, but everything's just going to be kind of tightened up and kind of working as it should. And it will be a nice road car, nice track car. You can follow the build on my Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. I also have a blog called Quarter Mile Style, and I update all my kind of build story on there. It's also available to look at in Retro Cars magazine, which is bi-monthly, and every issue I talk about whatever problems or kind of projects I'm doing on the car at the time. So whether it's suspension, 1 month, or brakes or whatever, so you can follow the whole thing through that. And also, because the Goblins are quite competitive, we've all decided to do builds at the same time. So whilst we're not filming for Goblin Works, we're actually doing our own projects. This is mine, and so that's on YouTube too, so you can follow it on YouTube as well. This year is going to be a bit mental. There's lots going on. So I definitely know I'm going to Goodwood Festival of Speed, and the MX-5 is going to be there finished. And I'm going to go into the Bromley Pageant of Motoring as well in June. I don't know if the MX-5 will be finished then, but I'll definitely take it along because I'm still driving it, so it'll be in whatever stage it's in. And then it depends on filming what other shows I go to, but I'm going to be at them every weekend, and I keep social media updated with where I'm going to be individually and with the Goblins as well. So, and also we've got some road trips coming up too.